So got row 31 here. We're doing a 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch, and as usual I have done that with the tail yarn. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch across. So that's a UK double crochet there. So that's just in, wrap, bring it back through, wrap and through 2. And with something as simple as this, and the fact that we're on the front of the yarn here, or the front of the work, I'm crocheting in the tail at the same time. Just saves me having to sew it in later. Up to you. If you want to do that, I just hold it across the back and it works very well. So we're doing 1 double crochet all the way to the end, so you'll have 145 stitches at the end of this row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, a nice clean simple row of UK double crochets. We're going to turn the work and continue with the green yarn next. Okay, see you in just a moment. Okay, so we're on the wrong side of the work. We're going to do 1 chain, and that doesn't count as a stitch, so we're immediately working a double crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to do a half treble, followed by a treble, each one of these into their own stitch on the row below. Then we're going to do 3 double trebles into the next stitch. So a double treble is where you wrap twice for us, and then round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, and then again 2 wraps into the hole, bring it back through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, and then again. So we've done all 3 of those into 1 stitch, then a treble, and a half treble. I need to get rid of that tail, don't I, short. So that's through all 3, and then a double. And then we're going to repeat that again. So we've got a half treble, so you've got your 3 loops on and through all 3 at once, a normal UK treble, so that's round and through 2 twice, and then a double treble into the next hole, and another double treble, and another one. So 3 double trebles all worked into 1 hole, and then normal treble, and a half treble when you go through all 3, and then finally another double crochet. So you're getting this rather nice like mountain bit going. So we're going to do that all the way along to the other end, and then we'll join you with the yarn change and things when we get to the other end. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, and as you can see we've got some nice little green mountains or hills going on here. We are finishing off with the final pull through of the row being in this lovely clementine, this lovely orange, and then we will be turning to do the next row. Now you will have 193 stitches on at this point, which is more than you've had before, but we will be getting rid of some, so don't panic, we'll do all that in the next row. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so we've got this lovely orange yarn we are going to start with a 1 chain. That doesn't count as a stitch, but unlike normal where we work straight into that stitch and create another one, we're not doing this time. So we are working 1 double crochet, oops, this is a UK double crochet by the way, into the next stitch, and then we're doing that twice more. So a double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Then we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, all into 1 stitch, then 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to do the decrease. So we're going to double crochet 3 together. So you're going into the hole, bringing that back through, then into the next hole, bringing that back through, and then in the next hole, and bringing that back through. So you'll have 4 loops on your hook at that point. Then we wrap in and we're coming through all of them at once. So that's a decrease. So where you've increased here, you've decreased there. Then we do another 2 individual double crochets, and we're going to work 3 into the next stitch. So 1, 2, 3, oops, let's put the yarn a bit there, then 2 individuals, 1, oops, missed a loop there, 2, you need to make sure you're going under both loops, and then double crochet 3 together. So in, pull it back through, into the next hole, pull it back through, into the next hole, pull it back through, round through all 3. So we're going to continue with that combination of 2 individual double crochets, then 3 all worked into the same hole, and then another 2 individuals, and then we're working 3 together again. So you can see there how we've got a nice flow going across the top. We're not actually decreasing any stitches on this particular row, but we will be doing eventually to get back to what we need. Okay, so we're at the final 2 stitches, and instead of the double crochet 3 together, we're doing double crochet 2 together. So all I've done there is go into one of the holes, bring a loop through, go into the next one, bring a loop through. So I've got 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm through all 3, and that evens up your numbers. Now on this, row 34 is an exact repeat, just going across the back of the work. So we'll join you at the other end of row 34, because I don't think you need to watch me do all that again. So yeah, we'll see you at the end of the next row. Okay, so we're just repeating the row before. Okay, so here we are at the end of row 34. So it was exactly the same as row 33, which is why I didn't fully demonstrate it, but we are swapping at the end of this row, sorry. So we're doing a double crochet 2 together, but we need the change of yarn colour to go through all 3. So for me it's the lovely bright yellow, and that then nicely joins in at the end of the row. So this is the wrong side of the work. That's what it will look like for you now. Okay, we'll see you shortly in the next row. Okay, so we've got another nice interesting row to do. So for this one, this is row 35, we're going to do a chain of 3. So as you know, I like to do one with the tail, and 2 with the working yarn. So I've got my chain of 3 there. Then we are working a double treble there, so it's a double wrap, and we're going not into that first stitch, but we're going into the second one, and doing our double treble there. Then we've got a treble and a half treble, and then a double crochet. So as you can see, we're sort of straightening off this row. So then we've got another half treble and a full treble, round and through 2 twice, that's it. And then we're doing a double treble 3 together. So it's a double wrap in round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2. So you've got just 2 loops left. Double wrap again into the next stitch, pull that through, round and through 2, round and through 2, and you've got now 3 loops left, and then we're doing it again. So round and through 2, round and through 2, and then round and through all 4 together, and that pulls all those 3 stitches into one. Then we have a treble followed by a half treble followed by a double crochet. You can see how the double crochet lands at the peak there, and then we're back on with half treble, normal treble or a standard treble, and then the double trebles, and we're doing the double treble 3 together again. So 2 wraps into the hole, back through, round and through 2, round and through 2, and then again a double wrap in, bring it back through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through all 3, and then a standard UK treble and a half treble and a double, and then you carry on with that all the way across the row, and you can see how you're straightening out your line. Okay, we'll see you again shortly at the other end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, and we are working a double treble 2 together rather than 3, and this gets us the right number of stitches at the end. So when you've done your 2 stitches there, and then you pull through all 3. So this is how we should be looking at the end of this row, and don't break off your yarn because we will be starting the next row with the same colour. Okay, we'll see you again in just a moment. Okay, so we're on the wrong side of the work, and it's a lovely easy row, this one. So a 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then a double crochet. Oops, where am I there? There we go. A double crochet into every stitch across to make a nice, clean, firm row for you. So when you get to the other end, please do check you've got the right number of stitches. We should be back to 145 stitches when you've finished at the end. Okay, we'll see you in a moment at the other end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, and we are changing colour, so I've left the final 2 loops on my hook. I'm just going to pull that through. Now, just as a point here, and the designer does mention it, be careful not to work into that chain of 3 that you had at the beginning. I have actually finished on the next, what would be the next to the last stitch, because part of that was decreasing the numbers at the end of the row or the beginning of the row on the row before. So just make sure you've got your 145 and not 146. Okay, we'll be back in a moment with row 37. Okay, on this row we are actually going to be using 2 colours of yarn, but we're going to start with the first with 1 colour. So we've got a 1 chain which just anchors the yarn, doesn't count as a stitch. So now I'm moving on to my proper colour of yarn, or proper working yarn, sorry. So we're going to do a double crochet into the first 6 stitches, and I am just anchoring in the other colour at the back. So 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now we're going to work a bobble into this next stitch, and for that we need the additional colour, which for me is the hot pink. So you have to put the yarn around the hook and then into the hole. Then with the working yarn you bring that back through, trying to just anchor that across there, round and through 2. Okay, so you've got your purple one and your pink one. Then then yarn over hook into the hole, bring it back through, round and through 2. Do that again, yarn round hook into the hole, bring it back through, round and through 2, and again into the hole, round the hook, bring it back through, and then once more. So we've actually done 5 stitches into there. So you've got 1 original colour and then 5 contrasting loops. Then you grab the main colour again and pull that all the way through to complete the stitch. And then we're going to do how many is it now? Let's see, 5 stitches in the original colour, in the main colour, that's the thread that's going back. So you're kind of pushing that bit forward there, and you're going into the next stitch. Now I would say at this point you need to wrap the yarn at the back, okay, because you need to carry it along the back with you. So that's my first double crochet. Sorry, I just need to get a bit more tension on there, that's not quite enough. Into the next hole, keep that one tucked in, and so we're carrying it neatly along the back of the work for when we need it again in a moment. So 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so there you can see how you're carrying it there at the back. Then swap to the alternative yarn, so again for me the pink, wrap in, bring it back through, round and through 2, wrap in, bring it back through, round and through 2, keep repeating that until we end up with 5 of the bright pink loops and 1 purple. So there we go, got to that point. Then again we get the purple yarn and we bring it all the way through for that final stitch, and then we're back to doing double crochets with the purple yarn, and not forgetting to encase the pink as you go across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, grabbing the pink, wrap into the hole, bring it back through, round and through 2, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, got through too many then, and 5. Right, there we go, got my 5 loops and my 1 purple, and bring them through with the purple. So you can see what's happening there now. You're getting the nice little bobble. Make sure that shoves itself through to the front, and across the back there you're encasing that yarn nicely across the back. Okay, we will see you at the other end. Just another little point, you can see that you're ending up pretty much in the same place. Well, you should be in the same place each time as you go across. Okay, we'll see you shortly at the other end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. You can see how lovely and neat they can be done. The final stitch is done into that end stitch there, and there will be 6 at the end here, where you've got 5 double crochet between all the others, so you've got 6 there at the end. So what you will have is your pink yarn all neatly carried through behind, right up nearly to the end. That can then be cut off and sewn in. We're not changing yarn colours because we're going to be using the purple for the next row. So we'll be back with that one in just a moment. Okay, so we've turned the work, we're on the wrong side. We're going to start with a chain of 3, and that counts as your first treble. So we miss that first stitch and work into the next one. And we're quite simply going to be working a treble, a UK treble, into every stitch right to the end. So do make sure that you work into all the stitches around where the pink bobble is. So for me, I've got to make sure I work into that one. So you've 1 there and 1 there. Oops, a bit more central for you. Okay, so we'll see you at the end of here. We will be changing colour at the end, so we'll just pause when we get there, but you need 145 stitches, including the chain of 3. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. This is the wrong side of the work, and you then are going to take, in the final stitch and the final pull through of that, take your new colour and add that in. We're going with this lovely sky blue, sorry, not cornflower, sky blue at the moment. So we'll see you in a moment with the next row. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of row 39. This is another really easy row to do. So we're doing a 1 chain just to anchor the yarn in. I've cut the purple yarn because I don't need that again anytime soon. And then we are working simple UK double crochet all the way along the row. So you can see there, we can neaten that off just so the end's in shortly, but a really nice light, clean, simple stitch that sets the base up the next fancy section. Okay, we'll see you at the other end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. I've worked into the very final stitch, which was the chain of 3 of the row below. Just do a quick check now that you've got your 145, because it will matter on the next row, and we'll see you again in a moment. Okay, so we're on with row 40, which is actually works the same as row 32, just in a different colour. So we start with a 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch. Then we work a double crochet into that first stitch. Then working along the row, we've got a half treble followed by a treble, and then 3 double trebles all into the next stitch. So that's 1, so it's a double wrap because it's a double treble, in and back through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, and again it's a double wrap, and round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, then a treble, and a half treble, and a double crochet, and then we repeat again, getting longer with each stitch, so a half treble, a treble, 3 double trebles all worked into 1, like so. Oops. Fighting with me a little bit there. Then a treble and a half treble, and we're back at a double crochet. So you can see we've got the peaks going on there again. Okay, so we'll join you at the end of the row for the next bit. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row with lots of nice little peaks there. We have been following row 32's instructions, however we need a different colour at the end, so at the end of this row we're pulling through with the nice bright red in order to start the next row. Okay, we'll see you in a moment with row 41. Okay, rows 41 and 42 are worked pretty much the same all the way through. So we start with a 1 chain, and then we don't work into the same one again. We are going to do double crochets into the next 3 stitches. Then we are working 3 double crochet into the next stitch, so that's all 3 into 1, then 2 individual double crochet, and then double crochet 3 together, so this is the UK version. You pull that through, go into the next hole, pull that through, go into the next hole and pull that through, and then we pull through all 3 4 loops there from there's one originally on your hook, and then we do 2 individual doubles, then we're working 3 double crochet. Got a bit snagged there. 1, 2, 3, 2 individual double crochets down the other side, and then 3, so double crochet 3 together into the middle. So you've gone into 3 different holes. That's your original one there, loop, and then through all 3, and then 2 double crochets starting up the other side. So you have worked this style of row before, so we're going to work all the way across, and then we're going to turn around and work all the way back, because these 2 rows are both worked the same and with the same colour. So we'll see you in a moment at the end of row 42. Okay, so here we are at the end of the second row, and we're doing a double crochet 2 together, and this time we're swapping into this lovely azure blue. So the only difference is the colour change at the end. Okay, we'll see you shortly at the start of the next row. Okay, so row 43 is the same as one of the previous rows, so you should hopefully not have any trouble with it. So we've got a chain of 3, so that's 1 chain for me with the tail. Obviously that bit's optional, you can do whatever you prefer. So I've got my 3 chain done, and I've now got my working yarn in hand. Then we're missing the one at the base of the chain 3 because we're kind of doing, we're decreasing, so that one doesn't count there. So we're working then a double treble into that next stitch. Then we have a standard UK treble in the next one, a half treble, which is where you pull through all 3, a double crochet, then another half treble, a treble, through 2, and then through 2, and then we're doing the double treble 3 together. So that's the double wrap in, bring it back through, round and through 2, round and through 2, pause at that moment, start another one, 2 wraps, bring that back through, round and through 2, round and through 2. So each time we're ending up with another loop left on the hook. So a wrap, double wrap again into the next stitch, pull it through 2, pull it through 2, and then when we've got those 4 loops there, pull through all 4, and that does decreasing it together. And then we have a treble and a half treble and a double crochet, and then we're back onto the repeat again. So a half treble and a treble, and then the double treble 3 together. So we're going to continue that set all the way along the row. So there we go, through all 4 on that final one. So you can see what we're getting again there. We've got similar to this row here, in fact it's the same as this row here. So right, we'll see you at the end of the row. Okay, so we're at the end of the row, and we're going to finish with a double treble 2 together. So that's my first stitch part made, a double wrap into that final stitch, and then when we've got to the 3, so we've got our 2 stitches made there, we're going to pull that all the way through. We're sticking with the same colour for the next row, so we'll be back in a moment with that row. Right, so row 44, lovely easy row. We're doing a 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then we're doing a UK double crochet into every stitch along the row. So this will give us a nice neat row to work the next section into, and it just kind of tightens the work back up, because some of these fancier rows can leave your work a little bit looser. So there we go, that's all we're aiming for on this one. So we'll see you very soon at the other end of the row. Okay, so we're at the end of the row. I've gone into the last stitch there, and we're joining with yarn G, which is the ecru colour, ready for the next row. Okay, so here we are right at the beginning of the row. We're going to do a 1 chain, which I'm doing with the tail just to anchor it, and then we find the working yarn, and we start with a double crochet in that first stitch, and we're basically going to work a double crochet for 10 stitches. So we're starting to work now the musical note section. So just fighting with me there. Okay. So UK double crochets all the way across. Oh, I see why. I've got my yarn snagged. That's better. So how many have we got so far? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And at this point we're going to start working a bobble, and we need to introduce the black yarn. This is the base of the musical note. So I've got that round, looped now round my hook. This bit's a little bit fiddly, so into your first hole, bring it back through, and then round and through 2. So that's your first part of your musical note. Then we're going to do wrap in, wrap, pull it back through, round and through 2, and again wrap into the hole, wrap, bring it back through, round and through 2. I'm just going to put a little bit more tension there on my hand. So wrap into the hole, wrap, back through, wrap and through 2, and one more. There we go. So we've got 5 black and 1 cream on the hook. You then go back to the cream yarn and pull a loop all the way through, and that's your first musical note made. Then we are doing double crochets, just 3 this time, and we do need to be carrying the black yarn with us. So I'm going to crochet over the black yarn so that I don't end up with a loose loop across the back. So that's 3. Okay, and then I'm going to work another of the notes. So we go back then to the black yarn, wrap into the hole, wrap back through, wrap through 2. So we need to do this 5 times in total. It's 4, and then the 5th time. And then we've got our 5 black threads or loops, and then round through all of them. Okay, and then we do 10 double crochets to create a gap, and remember you need to carry that thread along with you. So 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we'll be back to making some more notes. So you can see here we've got 2 notes, we've got 3 double crochet in the middle, but then between the blocks of 2 we've got 10. So that's what you're aiming for across this row. Okay, we'll see you shortly at the other end. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. You have now several sets of these, all with the yarn carried neatly across the back. I've now cut that off because I don't need that for the next 3 rows. So yeah, we'll start again. You've finished with 10 at the end, that way we're back to the right number, and we're now going to carry on and create the white background for the black musical notes. Okay, we'll see you in a moment in the next one. Okay, row 46 is super easy. It starts with a 1 chain. Then we are very simply working 1 double crochet into every stitch across, and this is to help firm up the row and keep the blanket in shape. These nice double crochets keep a nice tight row for us. So there you go. We'll see you at the other end of this row. I'm certain you don't need to watch me do any more of these. See you soon. Okay, so row 47, lovely simple row again. So we're doing a chain of 3. That counts as your first treble, and then we're working a UK treble into every stitch. So getting quite a bit of weight on here now. So there we go. This, I always find the treble rows are a little bit looser, so I do like to the fact that there's some double crochet rows thrown in them all. So that's it. You've done your chain of 3, and then you're working a simple UK treble into each one of the stitches below, so you'll need 145 including that chain of 3. Okay, we'll see you at the end of this one. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. You can see how we're getting a nice chunk of cream there to work the rest of the note against. So we're going to turn now, keep with the same colour, and we'll be back with the next row in just a second. Okay, so another very simple row before we get on to something a little bit more taxing. 1 chain at the beginning, which doesn't count as a stitch. Then it's another row of double crochet all the way across. So again, as I've said before, this gives us a lovely tight, neat row that just helps to give the blanket structure, where some of the more creative rows make it a little bit looser. So there we go. So that's what you're aiming for, and we'll see you again at the other end. So here we are at the end of the row, and you can see now we've got this nice chunk of cream. The next row, we're still using the cream, but we'll be doing more of the musical notes. So that'll be quite an interesting row to do. We'll see you again very shortly. Okay, so we're on row 49. There's quite a bit going on this row. So we will be carrying some yarn across the back because we're doing the black and cream again, and so we will need to crochet around those as we've done before on other rows. So let's work this slowly. So we start with a 1 chain, and we're doing a double crochet into each of the first 10 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then as we get to the 10th one we need to rejoin with the black yarn to start doing the stick part of the notes. Okay, so we're now working a front post triple treble. So a triple treble is 1, 2, 3 wraps because we're on the UK version. We're then going in across there, and we can, yep, it's let me pull that back through. This will stretch out as we go along. So in each section, so we've got 5 loops there, so we go round and through 2, round through another 2, round and through another 2, round and through a final 2. Now we are missing that stitch. We don't want to work into there. We want to work a double crochet into the next 3 stitches, but we are needing to keep the cream coming along. So at this point we've got to remember to wrap the cream in. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're working another front post triple treble. So 1, 2, 3 wraps, then we're going to the white stitch just before the black stitch, or the black bobble, pull that through. So then you can see I've got my 5 loops, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, and then we will be swapping back to the cream yarn. So we grab that and we go round and through 2 with the cream yarn at the end. Now again we are then, that was the stitch, the last stitch we worked into, that's the stitch we're missing, and we're going to start in the next stitch after that. So we miss 1 stitch on the row where the triple treble is being worked. Then we are doing 10, just checking my numbers, so we're then doing 10 double crochet, wrapping the black as we go, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is stitch number 10, so we pull that through, but then as before change to the black yarn to do the final pull through on that. So we've got 10 there. Then we're back on to the front post triple trebles, 1, 2, 3 wraps, find the very last stitch, the last creamy coloured stitch. Oh, it's fighting with me this time. Try again. There we go, going across the back and through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through another 2. Okay, so we're then missing a stitch, and just making sure I'm missing the right one so I can see where I've worked in there. So we missed this one, and we're working a double crochet with the black around the cream. So as you can see, trying to rush this row is not an option, just slow and steady. So I've got the 3, and then up 1, 2, 3 wraps, find the stitch just before the bobble, pull that through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2. We're now back to where we need the cream, and we do the last final pull through with the cream yarn, and then we go back to working. So we miss one, so that's the stitch we worked, that's the one we're missing, into that next one, and again we're going to work another 10. So you may need to replay that bit. I'm going to leave you now to work across them yourself, so they will just tighten that, neaten it up. It works and stretches. As you can see, you don't want them too tight, but also you don't want them sort of floppy and hanging around, because then they'll snag on things. So it's just judging how tight to work your triple treble on these, but hopefully that's showing you what you need to do and how you're encasing your yarn at the back. Okay, we'll see you shortly at the end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. So we now have, I think it's 8 sets of these, and you can see how we've neatly crocheted over the different colours as we've gone along. So that's what you're aiming for, and we will see you very soon for the next row. Okay, so we're working along the wrong side of the work for this one, and we're going to be doing 2 chains to start with, and that counts as your first half treble, and then we have to work 9 half trebles into the next 9 stitches, or 1 half treble into each of the next 9 stitches, and we're doing it completely. We're grabbing both loops at this point. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the 9th one is there in the white stitch. Then we have to work half trebles into the front loops only. So the front loop of these black stitches is slightly harder to see. I'll just see if I can highlight them for you. I've got one there, and then another one here, 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 and here. And that leaves the front loops free and makes the stitches look more pronounced, so that the note, the black note, is more pronounced. So for this one I'm going up the stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and hopefully you can get a good view there, so you can see that the front ones are more pronounced there. And then we go back to working under both loops for the next 10 stitches. So between each set we're working 10 half trebles into the cream stitches, and then we're working 5 half trebles into just that, what is the front loop when it's facing you. Okay, we'll see you again in a few minutes at the end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, and we're now changing to this lovely cerise pink. The hot pink, as we've named it. So hopefully you can see there how you've got now your notes sitting on the blue line and you've got a white line above it. So we're going to pause for a moment and then we're going to come back and start to work the pink line. Okay. Okay, row 51, nice easy one. So we are starting off with our chain of 3. So there's the one I've done with the tail. Actually no, I haven't. Try that one again, got on the wrong line. So, one with the tail for me, then 2 with the working yarn, and then I'm going to set my hand up so I've got the tension on the yarn. We're then working 1 treble, that counts as the first stitch, so we're then working 1 treble into every stitch to the end, and I'm going to wrap in the yarn at the back. It's up to you which you would prefer to do. In fact, I'm going to just wrap the white yarn in. I think what I will do with the pink is, oh, I've missed it. You can see there, if you don't catch both threads, you get a very pulled stitch, so that's probably just a useful one for you to see, because it does affect sort of the overall look really. So we do want to be going underneath. Let's just move the pink yarn out of the way. Underneath both of those white loops, or cream, it's really cream. Anyway, we're working on trebles and we're going to go all the way to the other end. Check you've got your 145 stitches at the end, including this one. That's stitch number 145, and then we'll be changing colour when we get to the other end, so we'll see you there shortly. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, and we need to change to this lovely sunshine yellow for the final stitch. So there we go, that's where you should be at this point, and we'll be back in a second with the next section. Okay, so row 52, I'm going to do 1 chain, and that doesn't count as a stitch, and then we're going to work our double crochet into that first stitch. Okay, then we're on to a double treble, so a double, that's 2 wraps into the hole, round, pull it through 2, pull it through 2, pull it through another 2, and then we're doing another double crochet, all UK terms. So 2 wraps in, bring it through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2, and another double crochet, and we're getting that lovely lumpy effect on the other side, which gives us that lovely textured effect, which I love it. I think it's really nice. So we're going to carry that on all the way across the row so that you get the lumpiness is coming on the front of the work there. So I'm currently working across the wrong side of the work here. So we'll see you at the other end with the row complete, and then we'll change yarns. Okay. Right, so here we are at the end of the row, and this time we're going to be joining in with the black yarn. So that's the end of there. So this is the front. This is how it should look now. Love the little set of bobbles that we get there. Okay, we'll see you in the next row. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of row 53, which is a row to, it's a setup row really, is this. So we're doing a 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then we're going to be working across these stitches. I'll just pull that out a second. These stitches here for the double crochets. So the first one's always a little bit different and tricky. Let's just tighten that up. So I've got the double crochet there, and then I'm almost sort of turning the work back on itself so I can see where I am. So that's one there, and then one here. So you're working one double crochet into the top of what is the chunkier stitch, and then one double crochet into the shorter stitch. So hopefully you can see where I'm working across there, and then into the next one. Just get that little bit better tension on my hand. There we go. So into the back bit. So you're not going into the stitch itself, you're going into that top section. And the smaller one is always going to be more fiddly. Okay, so that's what you're working on all the way to the other end of the row. So we'll see you shortly at the other end. Okay, so here we are at the end of row 53, and you can see how nice and neatly that's set up the next row. So yeah, that's the front. That's how we should be looking. Hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, and we will see you in the next row. Okay. Okay, so here we are, row 54. A really simple row again. It's one chain, and then we're doing one UK double crochet into every stitch to the end. So really simple, easy to do. We'll join you at the end because we need to change colours and set up ready for the next row. Okay. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row, and we're now joining in this lovely lime green. So just pull that through, and do not cut off the black. We're going to keep the black for later. This is one of the sections where you'll be going, some of the ones you'll do right side row and then the right side row again, and another one you'll do the wrong side row and the wrong side row again. So there's various things going to be happening slightly different over the next few rows. So don't cut off your black yarn, keep that, and it'll be in the right place for you to reuse shortly. Okay, we'll see you in a moment with the next row. Okay, so row 55, we have done similar rows before. So we're on a one chain. That doesn't count as a stitch, so we're also doing a double crochet into that first stitch. Gives a nice firm start to the row. Keep the black yarn out of the way, because you will need it later, but you don't want to snag it up on anything in the meantime. Then we're going to miss 2 stitches and work 5 UK trebles into the third stitch. So at the moment we are on the right side of the yarn, of the fabric rather. So got a bit snagged there. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then work 2 chain. So you've got a nice little fan shape of 5. Then we are going to miss 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to be working into the 6th. So that's the 6th stitch, and we're doing 5 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 5, followed by 2 chains, and then miss 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wrap and go into that 6th stitch, and then we're on to our 5 UK trebles again. So it will feel familiar, we have done this style of row before, but no harm in just doing another little demonstration. So there you go, you've got your sets of 5s in a nice little fan with your 2 chain between. Okay, we'll see you shortly at the other end of the row. Okay, so we're here at the end of the row, and you can see all the sets of 5 fans there, and then we're finishing with a double crochet into that last stitch, so you've only missed 2 stitches at the end there. We're then going to fasten this off, because that's the green done with. Don't turn your work, but I will be back in a moment to show you the next row. Okay, so we're still on the right side of the work, and we've gone back to the beginning of the row for the black yarn that we didn't cut off last time, so we've just picked it up again, and I'm now in here, which is the first stitch of that row. We're doing a 1 chain, which as usual doesn't count as a stitch, and then we are doing a double crochet into that first stitch, so that we've got a secure place to work into for when we do the border. We are then doing a double crochet into the back loop only, so I'm going into the middle of the stitches, and then 1 chain, and then we miss a stitch, and we do a double crochet into the back loop only of the next 2. So you have done rows like this previously, so hopefully it's all coming back to you now. Then we're working into this row from before, so we're going into the central stitch, so it's the 3rd one along. We've got a double crochet and we're encasing the green yarn, and a 1 chain and another double crochet there, so you can see how it's got both sides in. Then we repeat where we put a double crochet into the back loop only of those 2, a 1 chain and another stitch into the back loop only of those 2, and then we've got the set of 5 in the middle again, so we're working our double crochet into the middle stitch, 1 chain, another double crochet into the same stitch, and we're going to repeat that all the way along the line. So hopefully it's all coming back to you. We did do it on using different colours in the middle the last time we did this, but it's exactly the same theory. Okay, I'm going to pause there. That's what you're looking to achieve. That's the back, so you've got both sides for reference. Okay, we'll see you shortly at the other end of the row. Okay, so here we are at the end, and we're working a double crochet into the final stitch. So I've worked double crochets here, a 1 chain gap, and double crochets back loop only right to the end. So here we need to bring in the next colour, so I'm going to do that on the final pull through of that round. Again, don't cut off the black yarn, keep that there. Okay, we'll join you again in a moment with the next row. Okay, so we're starting off with a chain of 3 and then 2 trebles into the base of that stitch. Don't worry if it feels a little bit loose underneath, you'll be pulling it tighter when you come to sew ends in and things. So we've got that chain of 3 and then 2 trebles worked with it. 2 chain, and then you miss all your stitches here and you work in 5 trebles into the 1 chain space in the middle there. They're UK trebles, so it's a wrap in between the 2 stitches, the 2 black stitches, and then you're working your 5 oops, trying to escape, there we go, 5 UK trebles, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 chain, miss all these stitches again, and you work in 5 trebles into that 1 chain space there in the centre, and that's all the way along. Should feel familiar, should this? So yeah, that's where we are with this row. So don't forget your 2 chain in between. That's what you're working towards. Okay, we'll see you again shortly. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row and we are working 3 UK trebles into this final stitch. This just completes the end of the row for us. Okay, we're going to fasten this off, but we're not going to turn the work because at the other end of the work the black is still attached, and we're now going to do another row of black. Okay, so we'll pause it there and we will come back in a moment with the next row. Okay, row 58. So we've still got the back of the work showing, not the front, so we're on the wrong side of the work and we're working again with the black yarn. So I've popped my hook into the top of the 3 chain, that's there, and I'm bringing the yarn through. So I've reconnected the black yarn. I'm doing 1 chain which doesn't count as a stitch, so I'm also working a double crochet next to it for the stability, and then I need to work a double crochet into the front loops only. I prefer to go down into that loop and bring it back in, but you could go up either, so it's whichever you prefer. This is my version of doing it. Neither is wrong, it's just personal preference. Then on this row below we had a 1 chain space here, so we're working a double crochet again and encasing the blue 2 chains at the same time. So into that black hole there, and you've encased the blue work, or the blue 2 chain. Then we're doing a double crochet into 2 of the front loop only, then a 1 chain, miss a stitch and work another 2, double crochet. Oops. Got too carried away then. Then again find your chain space, which should be in the middle of those, and we're doing a double crochet and a 1 chain and another double crochet. Again, you've done this style of row before, so as soon as you're comfortable, just continue, not forgetting your little one chain spaces in the middle of this section. So that's what you've got on the back, and on the front it's pushing out one side, which is what we want it to do. Okay, we'll see you very shortly in the next section. Okay, so we're right at the end, and I'm doing my final 2 double crochet where I'm working into the front loop only, and then I'm going to finish with a double crochet at the end, changing to yarn H, which for me is a lovely soft cornflower blue. Okay, so this is how we need to be looking now, and we will see you again in a moment. Okay, so starting off with a 1 chain, I'm going to do that with the tail, anchor it nice and firmly, and then 1 double crochet into the first stitch. I can pull that tighter now. Okay, then we miss the 3 stitches here, and we're working 5 UK trebles, it's pulling after me, into the middle of those 2 stitches, so it's the 1 chain space. So this is a repeat of a previous row, just in a different colour. Just snag the yarn there. So as you can see as well, we've got the black yarn just sat quietly here, waiting to be used again. So I've got 4 there, that's 5, 2 chain, then we're missing all these 5 stitches, and that's the 6th one that gets missed, and we go in between the 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 chain, missing all those stitches, working into that one. So very similar, in fact identical to one of the previous rows. So we'll see you at the other end. Okay, so here we are at the end, and we are finishing with 1 double crochet into the final stitch. So then we're going to cut the yarn, fasten off. We're not turning the work because we're going back to the other end again. Okay, and we're rejoining with the black yarn this time. Alright. Okay, so we've picked up the black yarn again from the side. If you remember, we didn't cut it off before. We're going to pull that through, and then we're doing a 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch. So then we work in a double crochet into that stitch. We're then going to work a double crochet into the back loop only of the next 2 stitches. So again, repetitive of what we've done before, 1 chain, and then a double crochet into the back loop only of these 2 stitches. Should be looking familiar by now. We're then doing a double crochet into the 1 chain space on the previous row, or on the 2 rows down, 1 chain and another double crochet. Okay, and then back to the nice rhythm of 1 double crochet, back loop only of those 2 stitches, a 1 chain, and back loop only again for the next 2 stitches. Okay, and then a double crochet, a 1 chain and a double crochet. So you can see there we're repeating what we've done before, so a nice easy row for you this time. We'll see you again in a moment. So we're right at the end of the row. We've worked into the back loop only of those 2 stitches, and we're completing our final double crochet in the final stitch with the new colour of yarn. So for me that's the violet. With that, so we are now going to repeat these 2 rows but using the violet in place of the blue, and then working another row of the black. So I won't demo those again. If you need them, just relook at the last 2 rows. So we'll see you again shortly on row 63. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. I seem to have split my yarn there. Okay, I'm working the final double crochet into the final stitch, and I'm pulling through with this lovely violet yarn. So rows 61 and 62 are a direct repeat of rows 57 and 58, so I won't re-demo those. If you need to go back to them, then just go back slightly in the video to have a look at them. But we're doing them, the only difference is the colour. We're using the purple rather than the blue. Okay, so we'll see you in a few minutes at the end of the row 62. Okay, so we've finished rows 61 and 62, which are a repeat of 57 and 58. We're back on the right side of the work and we're ready for row 63. So we're still using the black yarn, so that's 1 chain, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then a double crochet into that same stitch. Then we're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch, a half treble, which is a UK one, into the next stitch. Then we're missing these stitches and we're working into the 1 chain space in the middle there, so I'll just really highlight that one. That's where we're going. So we're doing a UK treble into that stitch, then we're doing a half treble, and a double, and then we're working a double into the 1 chain space at the top there, so into that hole. Then we've got another double crochet and a half treble, and then a treble into the gap in the middle, into that 1 chain space, and then we're going to keep repeating this. You then miss that next stitch, work into the next one. So we've got a half treble, a double into that 1 chain space, another double into the next stitch, a half treble, that's what you pull through all 3, and then a UK treble. So you're working that combination. We're straightening out this bit now here. So you've got your double crochet into the hole at the top there, another double, half treble, treble, half treble, double, and then double into the hole again. So that's the combination that you're working through there to straighten the line. Okay, so I'll leave you working on that and we'll see you again in a moment. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row and we've finished with a final double crochet in that final stitch, and then you cast off. So I've just cut that and pull it through. So that's the end of row 63, and we'll be back shortly with the next block of information starting on row 64. Okay, see you soon.